Good morning. Welcome to Bay Area Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm Reverend Katie McQuage Lucas, and my pronouns are she and hers. We woke up today and it was actually autumn, like for real this time. And I know that not everyone is grateful for gloomy skies, but I am offering up thanks today for cool breezes and for the rain we have needed, and for the possibility of maybe not sweating while I cook like I did on Thursday. I think that might be an experience y'all are familiar with. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you have arrived here today in body, in mind, in spirit, whether you're here in this room in person or joining us online, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. Bienvenidos aquí. If it is your first time, if it is your 500th time, you are welcome here. We are glad that you are here, and we are glad to be together this morning. My opening words are from Reverend Michelle Collins. In times when despair feels reasonable and cynicism seems wise, we gather to practice radical hope. Not passive waiting, but active defiance against forces that would diminish our humanity. Together we choose hope as resistance, imagination as rebellion, and love as our most revolutionary act. Come and let us worship together.
Good morning. My name's Jerry Carr, and I'll be your worship associate today. Verba Dinsmore will light our chalice this morning.
It's lit.
It sure is. Oh, well, sorry. Thanks for that. We light our chalice as a symbol of the light within us and the life that flows through the world around us. It is our beacon as we search for truth. It is the warmth in our hearts for love, and it is the energy that propels us to action. May we be kindled by our time together. Please stand as you're willing and able for our opening hymn, number 126, in the hymnal, and the words will also be on the It is not always easy to find love at the center. There is not a set of easy instructions numbered 1 through 7 or maybe 8. It is not always easy to find love at the center. Today in Covenant, we celebrate our living tradition, which invites us to take deep breaths of fresh air into the newness of every day. So our minds, hearts, and spirits will be continually nourished. It is not always easy to find love at the center. For today we gather in covenant to celebrate the reality that love is at the core of our beings, and that love will guide us if we open ourselves to the challenges which love requires of us. May we accept this challenge with dignity and grace. Please join me in saying our covenant together. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, thus do we covenant with one another.
And now please join me in reciting our covenant in Spanish. El amor es la doctrina de esta iglesia. La búsqueda de la verdad es su sacramento y el servicio es su oración. Vivir en paz, en comunidad, buscar el conocimiento en libertad, servir a la humanidad en fraternidad. Así es como pactamos entre nosotros. This is the first Sunday of Advent, the time in the Christian calendar for waiting and anticipating and wondering. And it's not a passive waiting, it is an active one. Christians are preparing themselves to receive the presence of God on earth. For what do we prepare ourselves? What in us needs nurturing or changing in order to open ourselves to mystery and the holy? We light a candle this Sunday for hope. I have for us a poem from Reverend Victoria Safford about hope. Our mission is to plant ourselves at the gates of hope, not the prudent gates of optimism, which are somewhat narrower, not the stalwart, boring gates of common sense, nor the strident gates of self-righteousness, which creak on shrill and angry hinges. People cannot hear us there, they cannot pass through. Nor the cheerful, flimsy garden gate of everything's gonna be all right, but a different, sometimes lonely place, a place of truth-telling about your own soul, first of all, and its condition, the place of resistance and defiance, the piece of ground from which you see the world both as it is and as it could be, as it will be. The place from which you glimpse not only struggle, but the joy of the struggle. And we stand there beckoning and calling, telling people what we are seeing, asking people what they see. I have also lit our red candle of community and our white candle of peace, acknowledging our connections to many others in this room and beyond it, and acknowledging the state of the world as it is, and our hopes for what the world might be. We have all arrived here in this place and in this moment, carrying pieces of our lives in the door with us. We may be carrying joys, we may be carrying sorrows, hopes and dreams and fears too, all of the things that make up the tapestry of our lives. I invite you to come forward as you are moved and light a candle for those things you have brought here with you today. And we will join you in witnessing it, and we will witness you. If you would like a candle brought to you, please raise your hand. Will you please join with me in prayer? Infinite mystery at the heart of all things, never fully known but glimpsed in moments of wonder, moments of connection, moments of life springing forth unbound. You move through and between all things as a power of life and as a power of love and justice. In these times when the world seems out of kilter and all that seemed solid has fragmented, remind us that it has always been so, and that human beings have always responded to fulfill love and justice in the world. Remind us that we have power of our own, even when the world tells us that we do not. Remind us that the power of love is strong, even when the world tells us that love is soft. Remind us that even when the world seems narrow, we have choices, we have authority, we have agency. In the persistent hope and action we see in our history and in this present moment, may we see the power of life and love at work in our world. Spirit of love and justice, may we remember that hope lies in our labor, in the work of our minds, our hearts, and our hands. It is we who embody the spirit of love and justice in the world. It is we who are the bearers of hope. Amen, and may it be so. Just one of those mornings, I need to announce the hymn. Our prayer and song is number 123, Spirit of Life. Please remain seated.
Good morning. My name is Gloria Miller, and I am the Director of Religious Education here at Bay Area Unitarian Universalist Church. And I have to say that I love seeing everybody's winter clothing today. We never get to, or maybe once or twice, 3 times a year, we get to wear the stuff that we wear when it's chilly, and then there's Sunday only once a week, so I'm enjoying it. Our tale for all ages today is the story of a man's life who was an important man in the 20th century, Senator Frank Church, and subtitled The Last Honest Man because that was the title of the book that his biographer chose. The Reverend Forest Church is one of the most prominent Unitarian Universalist ministers of the 20th century. He served as senior minister at All Souls Church in New York for 30 years, and he published over 20 books in his very short lifetime, one of which was published in 2003 entitled, We Need More Patriots. This is 2003, where he argued that nationalism threatens the true meaning of American patriotism. Reverend Church also wrote a book about his father, the late Senator Frank Church. I would like to think that Forest Church drew much of his inspiration and his passion for religious and political liberalism from his father. His father served as senator from Idaho for 24 years, and as his biographer in The Last Honest Man wrote, more than anyone else in American history, Frank Church is responsible for bringing the CIA, the FBI, and the rest of the government's intelligence apparatus under the rule of law. So let's look at what one man could possibly do to earn that distinction. Entering the Senate in the late 1950s, Frank Church was typified as a Democratic Cold Warrior. But later, during the Vietnam War, his understanding and his knowledge of the corruption of the South Vietnamese army and the government that caused him to openly turn against the war, especially after Kennedy's assassination. And so, after the ending of the war, although he remained a senator of good standing, his outspoken opposition to the Vietnam War lingered in the Democratic's memory, the Democratic peers' memory, and he was largely left out of the Watergate investigation. So, he was truly ready for the next thing when the investigative reporting uncovered the CIA's coordination with ITT in possible clandestine involvements with foreign countries. And then this was in the early 70s, during Watergate, the end of Watergate. So as a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, he was appointed to chair what became known as the Church Committee, one of the most important oversight investigations ever undertaken by Congress into covert operations by the U.S. intelligence community. In fact, 50 years ago this month, on November 20th, 1975, the Special Senate Committee, led by Senator Frank Church, lifted the veil of secrecy on the clandestine efforts of the CIA to target specific foreign leaders for assassination. The Church Committee overcame intense pressure from the Gerald Ford administration to withhold publication of this report, which exposed CIA operations to neutralize leaders such as Fidel Castro in Cuba, Patrice Lumumba in Congo, and General Rene Schneider in Chile. The release of this report generated a major scandal over the ethics of U.S. foreign policy and the compatibility of unaccountable covert operations with a democratic society. The committee further uncovered covert operations by the FBI to infiltrate and discredit domestic organizations such as civil rights activists, feminists, and environmentalists that they considered subversive. The CIA's recruitment of journalists to spread propaganda through the media was also documented by the Church Committee. Shortly after the completion of this committee's work, the Senate voted to create a permanent intelligence committee that would continue to conduct oversight of the CIA and the intelligence community all the time, which had not been in place before this. And so as a result of the church hearings, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act was passed, which for the first time brought the National Security Agency and their ability to spy on American citizens under the rule of law. The Foreign Corruption Practices Act, which prohibits corporate bribery overseas, was passed as a result of Church's investigation. And a whole number of administrative and executive rules were passed to govern the CIA and the way that the FBI operates. Today, there are forces in our government that are attempting to circumvent these safeguards to our democracy. And it's really unthinkable how much more blatantly present-day assassination threats and covert operations could be carried out if these acts of law were not in place. Of his committee's work, Senator Frank Church said on Meet the Press in 1975, "Now, why is this investigation important? I'll tell you why. Because I don't want to see this country ever go across the bridge. I know the capacity that there is to make tyranny total in America, and we must see to it that this agency and all agencies operate within the law and under proper supervision so that we never cross over that abyss. That is the abyss from which there is no return." More than anything else, I believe that Senator Church's legacy lies in the conviction that our democracy's salvation is up to us. With an unwavering belief in America, a staunch support for a civil society based on free and fair elections, open debate and dialogue, and most of all, a commitment to the truth that we are the ones that must prevent the U.S. from crossing over that abyss.
It's amazing that I can tell Gloria, I'm thinking about preaching on this thing, and I don't know, we can talk about, how about Frank Church? And she just goes and puts that together. It is a gift. Our responsive reading this morning is The Limits of Tyrants by Frederick Douglass. It is number 579 in the back of the gray hymnal. The Limits of Tyrants by Frederick Douglass. Please join in with me on the italicized text. Those who profess to favor freedom and yet deprecate agitation are people who want crops without plowing up the ground. They want rain without thunder and lightning. They want the ocean without the awful roar of its waters. This struggle may be a moral one, or it may be both moral and physical, but it must be a struggle. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. Find out what people will submit to, and you have found out the exact amount of injustice which will be imposed upon them. The limits of tyrants are prescribed by the endurance of those whom they oppress.
Our reading this morning is by Howard Zinn. To be hopeful in bad times is not just foolishly romantic. It is based on the fact that human history is a history not only of cruelty, but also of compassion, sacrifice, courage, and kindness. What we choose to emphasize in this complex history will determine our lives. If we see only the worst, it destroys our capacity to do something. If we remember those times and places, and there are so many, where people have behaved magnificently, this gives us the energy to act, and at least the possibility of sending this spinning top of a world in a different direction. And if we do act, in however small a way, we don't have to wait for some grand utopian future. The future is an infinite succession of presents, and to live now as we think human beings should live, in defiance of all that is bad around us, it is itself a marvelous victory.
We have been in moments like this before, sort of, more or less. History does not literally repeat itself, and nothing is inevitable. Trajectories can always be changed, and conditions are never exactly the same. But as the saying goes, history does rhyme. There are echoes in other moments and times, glimpses of possibility. I know that many of us feel that this moment is unprecedented, and in some ways it is. No moment is the same twice. My personal perspective is that nothing new is happening now, but all of it is happening very quickly and all at once. The pace and the speed feel new to me. It used to take a long time to demolish whole swaths of governmental norms. It used to take a long time to reconfigure whole branches of government, and it used to take a lot longer for news cycles to run, and stories that once would have dominated the headline for months come and go in hours because there are new stories waiting their turn. But each individual item, very little of what we're seeing is totally new. Voting rights have been contested for a long time. That's not new. Anti-immigrant rhetoric appears in American life pretty cyclically. The targets change. It's the Irish, it's the Chinese, it's the Mexicans, it's the Venezuelans, but the dynamic is the same. Feminist movements have risen and fallen again in the face of backlash. Justice departments have been weaponized and then cleaned up again. Wars have been started before now for false reasons. These things have happened before. And I think another part of what feels different now, beyond the sheer scope, is the feeling that a lot of what is happening will be difficult to undo or to rebuild. It's not a few bad apples when the whole system is upended. The east wing of the White House is literally gone. It's not a remodel that could be undone. It's just a building, but somehow it seems to stand for a symbol. When so much is dismantled, it's difficult to know what the next era might look like. It's difficult to know what happens after. But the key to hope, the thing our ancestors and our forebears knew, is that doing necessary things doesn't actually require us to know what the end looks like. Hope does not require us to have a neat and tidy plan. Hope just tells us to get moving anyway. Because the thing about change is we don't know how and when it's happening when we're in the moment. Change is slow until it suddenly isn't. Change is invisible until it explodes into public view. We can work and work and work for a long time with not very much to show for it, and then suddenly we look up and everything is different. It is, I think, a pretty white American middle class thing to expect that change is easy and automatic. There is, for many people in this category, including myself here, a sense that surely one big march or one big piece of legislation, one petition, one boycott, and somehow, bam, change is made. People who have been in political movements for a while know better. People who have lived more on the margins definitely know better. How many civil rights icons fought for decades before seeing change, and how many never saw it? The Reconstruction Amendments were passed between 1865 and 1870. The Civil Rights Acts of 1964 and 68 came a full century later. Change was slow until suddenly it wasn't. And the thing I sometimes struggle with, because I'm coming out of that white middle class vibe that I'm talking about, is it's easy to have an existential crisis over wondering, is it 1880 or 1960? I don't know. I can't know if my actions will have effects. I can't see it in the moment. People in this room coming from other backgrounds or those who have been in the struggle for a long time have learned better. And I'm somewhere on the arc. This isn't my first go-round. But I know that people who have spent their whole lives in marginalized positions know it down to their bones, that the end of the struggle is not fully knowable. And hope isn't about having that end in sight. Hope is about knowing there will be an end eventually, and that we must do what is necessary to bring it about regardless of how long it takes. Whether it's 1880 or 1960, the struggle remains necessary and the work is always necessary. In some ways, a realistic assessment of individual power is actually really life-giving. It frees us from the expectation that we're wielding a magic wand, that we will fix everything now. It also frees us from the expectation that the end result will somehow happen without us. We know that our work is necessary, even if it isn't immediate. And we know there's no one single moment where we can say we've won. The struggle continues even after moments of victory. There is solidarity in this, in understanding that the struggles extend in time and space beyond what's right in front of us. Understanding that we're all in this together and that our actions are part of the woven tapestry of history, not separate from the actions of others. This solidarity also tells us that if the crises are so ever-present and interconnected, so too are our own struggles and our actions. Living in this uncertainty rejects optimism. It's a hope based on realism, a hope that demands something from us and is not content to wait and see. This is a hope that doesn't say things will inevitably be better, but that they might be better, and what we do might matter very much in the long run. When the future is so uncertain, it is also unwritten, and we can know that we are in some measure part of that writing, even if we can't know how much or how soon. In her book, Hope in the Dark, Rebecca Solnit writes, "Optimists think it will all be fine without our involvement. Pessimists take the opposite position, and both excuse themselves from acting. Hope locates itself in the premise that we don't know what will happen, and in the spaciousness of uncertainty, there is room to act. When you recognize uncertainty, you recognize you might be able to influence the outcome, you alone or you in concert with several million others. Hope is an embrace of the unknown and knowable, an alternative to the certainty of both optimists and pessimists." Frank Church was not a Unitarian, but his son was, so I felt like we could adopt him in. And I'm going to repeat a little bit of what Gloria did to do a quick rundown of church committee discoveries so we can see how familiar they may sound. Operation Chaos was the CIA domestic espionage, spying on the Black Panthers, the Young Lords, and Students for a Democratic Society. There was domestic surveillance via the FBI as well, COINTELPRO. And that went all the way back to the 50s, starting with investigating communists, but also investigating all those same activist groups, the United Farm Workers, and I'll give them some credit for also investigating the KKK. And they would do random IRS audits, bug people's phones, blackmail people. Operation Family Jewels was the CIA program to assassinate foreign leaders, especially Castro. Operation Mockingbird was that journalistic operation recruiting journalists to be propagandists. And the church committee brought all of this out into the open. Until that moment, most Americans had no idea there was a national security agency, let alone what it did. And the church committee put out the NSA's watch list, which included such dangerous figures as Gregory Peck and Joanne Woodward, Walter Mondale, and Frank Church himself. As far as Frank Church's involvement in protesting the Vietnam War, he privately confronted President Johnson in 1964 over the Gulf of Tonkin incident, which for anyone in the room, my age or younger, was a blown up story. It was kind of a nothing story that they turned into a big conflict to further embroil us in Vietnam. Much lied about, much mythologized, and Frank Church was furious. He spoke publicly against the war for years. The Pentagon Papers were published by our own Beacon Press in 1971. Yay, Unitarians. And the war didn't end until 1975. So Church is arguing with Johnson in 64, and it takes over a decade for the war to end. Change happens slowly until suddenly it doesn't. And the point of all this history is to point out that Frank Church was out there for literal decades before he got anywhere. Years and years of speaking against the war, years of warning against state tyranny, years of warning against corruption in American journalism. And then suddenly, bam, he's leading a committee, he's dragging it all into the light, he's making it public, and he's able to push for real change. One of the strange things about our present moment, something that may also contribute to it feeling unprecedented, is that there's nothing covert. Everything's already happening right out there in the open. The ICE raids, the boat bombings, financial malfeasance, threats and extortion from our government, the collapse of institutional norms. I don't know that we're going to need a church committee or the Pentagon Papers to drag everything out into the open. They're saying it out loud on television every day. And the horror here for me is the dreadful possibility that no one fears any consequences and that no one needs to feel ashamed because nothing will happen to them. But the hope in this circumstance is that we are not unaware of the scope of the problem. We know exactly what is happening, and we don't have to wait for a senator to do the heavy lifting for us. We can oppose it now, we can act now, we can demand change now. When wrongdoing is not secret, at least it's very clear what needs to be done. We don't have to wait for the powerful to save us, we save us. This also means we aren't waiting for public opinion to catch up like we might have in prior times. Within the last year, approval ratings for deportation measures have gone from 56% to 34%. When people see and understand what is happening, they are appalled. Approval of handling of trade issues has dropped to the 30s. It turns out that 78% of Americans really like SNAP benefits and think they're a good thing. 70% of Americans oppose going to war with Venezuela, and even a higher percentage think the government has not been sufficiently clear on the reasoning, which means that even the neutrals are kind of dubious. It turns out that when people can observe government in action, they have opinions about it. Joanna Macy writes about a lot of things, and one of the things she writes about is active hope. Active hope involves identifying the outcomes we hope for and then playing an active role in bringing them about. We don't wait till we're sure of success. We don't limit our choices to outcomes that seem likely. Instead, we focus on what we truly, deeply long for, and then we proceed to take determined steps in that direction. The most powerful thing about the moment we are in is the awareness that there are many arenas for us to engage. The scope may be overwhelming, but the flip side is that we can act immediately to do something and know that whatever we are doing will matter. Because problems are out in the open, we know that most people are with us and they want change. Because the problems are so clear, we know there are many avenues for action. If we don't trust the pace of governmental change, then we'll do it ourselves. If doing it ourselves seems too small, we band together to influence institutions. All options in between are, in this moment, on the table. There is spaciousness here and the plenitude of options, even amid what feels like an overwhelming existential crisis. And this crisis is real, let's be clear. But there is hope in accepting what is in order to make change. There is hope in truth. To repeat Rebecca Solnit again, hope locates itself in the premises that we don't know what will happen, and that in the spaciousness of uncertainty is room to act. When you recognize uncertainty, you recognize you may be able to influence the outcomes. We cannot fully know what moment we're in on the trajectory, on the timeline. And we can't fully know the best way to reach the moment we want. But instead of being paralyzed, we must be liberated by this. When so much has been broken down, there are 1,000 ways to build something new. When so much has been undone, there are new possibilities to remake the world. The world is remade by our choices, mine and yours and so many others. We are the ones who are going to save us, not someone else, not someone far away, not someone in the halls of power, us, you and me. And that is always the way forward, through each action we take now in this moment to move us all collectively to a different moment, to a future we don't yet fully know. And I know that uncertainty feels destabilizing, but it's also a vast arena for hope, for solidarity, for new ways of taking care of each other and inching our way into that unknown future one way or another. May the space opened up by uncertainty make room for us all to cause some good trouble, to make choices that bend the arc of the universe, and most importantly, may it give us all ways to know deeply that we will save us. Because in all of our human history, it's always been up to us, all of us collectively. Amen, and may it be so. Beloved friends, the Sunday before Thanksgiving, we did our special collection for Mercy Tree, and we're just going to do another one today to make sure we top off that account. For anyone who is new to us and is not familiar with the work of Mercy Tree, it's a coalition of many different churches that take turns cooking meals for our unhoused neighbors. We cook here, and then we go to a central location to distribute them. And for those who don't know, Houston does not do a good job of feeding its people. In fact, it's illegal to stand around in Houston and hand out food, so it's a big deal that we can do this, that we can make real meals with real healthy food and give them out. Please give as generously as you are able, because between the two collections, that will support Mercy Tree for the whole year ahead. Thank you.
Please join me in blessing the offering today. This gift from the abundance of my life blesses me, our ministries, and the world. There are many ways in which our community lives out our mission to change lives and heal the world. Here are just a few of those ways. Poncho Claus is making his rounds again this Christmas, and we can help brighten the season for local kids. Starting today, you can drop new unwrapped toys in the Poncho Claus collection box in the parlor outside Cockrell Hall. Buddhist meditation will not meet this afternoon. We'll resume next Sunday, December 7th at 4. The Covenant of UU Pagans meets this Thursday, December 4th at 6 p.m. in the sanctuary. We explore earth-centered spiritual paths through discussion and hands-on practice. All paths are welcome. Our youth lock-in begins Saturday, December 6th at 7 p.m. and continues through Sunday morning at 9. We'll have 2 meals, games, and activities for 8th graders through seniors. We're excited to see everyone there. We've ordered beautiful poinsettias from the Brookwood community to brighten the holiday season. They are $10 each, and your purchase supports adults with disabilities. Please consider buying one for your home and one to donate to the church. They'll be available next Sunday, December 7th. And also, please join us for our next congregational meeting next Sunday, December 7th at 12:15. Everyone is welcome to attend. After the service today, we invite everyone to Coffee Fellowship in Cockrell Hall. Come enjoy some snacks, good company, and conversation with friends, old and new, and also enjoy our latest art show. There will be some hors d'oeuvres served in honor of that. If you're new to BAUUC and want to stay connected, scan the QR code on the screen to sign up for our weekly email. It's the easiest way to keep up with everything happening here. Our closing hymn. I forgot my piece. 121. Please stand as you are willing and able.
My closing words are also from Reverend Michelle Collins. She is bookending this service. Go from this place knowing that hope is not a certainty but a choice. When the world offers you despair, choose possibility. When cynicism seems reasonable, choose engagement. May our hope be grounded in love and expressed through action. And may we return here when you need to find the courage to choose again. Go in peace and blessed be.